Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
Time to welcome back to Beach FM the Kapiti representative of the Greater Wellington Regional Council, Gaylor. Good morning.
Good morning, John. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm getting a bit zoomed out, and I think you may have some idea what I'm talking about.
Yes, I don't know. What is there? What's the verb for it or something? You know? Yeah. Yeah. But they're good. They're certainly managing to fit in some really good discussions. In our makeshift way of dealing with the business. Getting people to a meeting when we're in all different parts of the region is very simple because you just, sit in front of your computer or your iPad, as I do, and, dial in the code. And there you are. Last week I actually did one of my Zoom meetings in the Coastlands car park.
Wow.
And so it was actually great. The sun was streaming in the car and it was nice and quiet in my own little car bubble, and it was just really efficient. I was like, well, I can carry on. I got to there to do my bizzo, do my Zoom meeting, and didn't have to be anywhere in particular. It just fitted in really, really well. So, it's certainly doing well for what we need. The seats are getting a bit uncomfortable, so you've just got to remember to kind of move to a different seat and a different angle. But with our Zoom meetings today we had a big council meeting last week. Today our Zoom meetings are workshops, and we've just got a whole lot of different bits of our business that we're dealing with and discussing. And, keeping on top of getting updates from our staff about our response and the various different arms of our organisation around COVID-19 in terms of lockdown. We're gearing up to have our offices open to the public again. So, like everybody else, all the other businesses, the cafes, the shops, the other kind of service-focused businesses, how do we manage to meet all the requirements of government as we do that kind of part of our business, enabling people to come in and see us about stuff. Just all that's the thinking, the ever-changing environment for us around public transport, making sure that we're adhering to all the public health and safety requirements of the Ministry of Health, which we absolutely do. By the book, we're very focused on that. And, the lolly scramble really of kind of trying to figure out how many people will catch a train each day and hopefully get it right. We won't always get that right. Everybody's just doing the very best they can as people are slowly returning back into a workplace, or a lot of people are finding that they can effectively work from home on certain days of the week.
What is all that doing to the economics of public transport in the Wellington region?
Oh, it's pretty short. How's that for a blunt?
Well, I suspected that would be the case because there's just not as many people travelling. Even if they wanted to, you couldn't squeeze them in. You've got to have extra carriages on there. It just sounds like more and more costs for less and less punters. Yeah,
so, we do have the situation where it's free transport for people until the end of June. The government's picking up the tab on that. There's at least that. But the reality is for Regional Council, and we've been having these early discussions, and again, this isn't just science, this is modelling, this is seeing from examples in countries overseas where they've had public transport usage, then they've gone into lockdown and how slowly people have returned to public transport. Just because they're working from home, they've adjusted the flow of their life and for obvious reasons. So, what does that mean for how long will it take till we return to the very high usage that we enjoy here in the Wellington region? We can't guess that. We're simply only putting into estimates into our budgets at the moment. So, can't make any kind of comment about what that means in real tangible money terms, but we will hurt financially. So, the most important thing is public's health and safety. and then we need to work on making sure that they see that public transport, is the safe place, the safe way for them to travel, because it is. We're doing all the right things. We're still doing our daily cleaning regimes. That stuff's all well in hand and is continuing. And then as people do start to return to workplaces more and more days of their week, we hope that they will return to using the public transport as their first choice. It certainly is, they were doing it before in droves, and they will again. It's just, this is all, turned everything upside down. And then we'll get back to our old normality, which was for a lot of people in our region, being very, very savvy public transport users.
Don't you think there is an overlay of fear now that public transport can be a petri dish for not only COVID-19, but also the various other challenges to our health? And some people may think that public transport simply is not a healthy option.
Yeah, as I say, people are spaced out. We're doing all the right things, absolutely 100% of all the right things, and including these daily cleans. So, while we're getting 5 days, 6 days in a row now of no new cases, there hasn't been any new cases in Wellington for. Would it be about 3 weeks now?
Oh, I think it's more than that. And your point is very, very well made.
Done very well. Yeah.
It looks as if we don't have public transmission or community transmission. It looks as if the virus is not out and about. So, to that extent, public transport is safe. But public transport has gone through a few convulsions in the last year, Penny. I see there's a public transport advisory group being set up, or has it been set up already?
Oh, so it was all set up already in terms of as a response to when, coming up 2 years ago, when we made the changes in the bus network, and through the pain, one of the things that we started to establish was a public advisory group, but that was more purely for that Wellington bus route. So what we've taken on board now is to actually get an across the region approach to that. And I know that Kapiti is very good at doing kind of things like that, and sort of for accessibility users and stuff like that. So this is one that we've ticked off, and that we've gone through and got most of the people we want for it. A couple of shortfalls on it is that we didn't have anybody put themselves forward from Kapiti, so we're doing a bit of a retrospective to make sure we're getting somebody from Kapiti. You're
shoulder tapping for that, are you?
And so yes, we're doing. I've got a couple of names that we're putting forward now into the mix. So hopefully that will be sorted very soon. But yes, we will most certainly be having a grassroots user type person who knows the needs of the Kapiti community to get them in the mix for that advisory group as well.
And will that name become public?
Yeah, at that point, we just go for shoulder tapping.
So that's someone that people could liaise with and maybe put up their wish list or their comments on the way public transport is going.
I think it's, and people do and should be and do that sort of stuff to the likes of myself and colleagues anyway. That's kind of the role of your local elected representative. This is just, a different angle to it, that pure focus on the public transport. We're wanting to have people who come from a particular voice within the community, high users, people who are maybe kind of the very focused voice of users with accessibility issues, or financial difficulties, or all sorts of things, but certainly from different parts of the hood, just who experience a different slice of life, really, and that just always helps to make your decision-making all the more richer for it, I find. People have incredibly valuable contributions to make who are, living it for themselves or listening and got their finger on the pulse, let's say, of other people who are living it for themselves. So, yeah, and I think it's a good move for us. We just want to have, some other voices into the mix for us.
That's all to the good. And there was a review of bus routes in Kapiti that was planned. Has that been waylaid in any way with what's been happening in the last couple of months?
No, it's not so much waylaid, and hopefully people have still given the contributions that they were intending to, because really as lockdown kicked in, that was the start of the process of give us your feedback. Now, the feedback would have been about all your experiences leading up to lockdown, when we were all still out and about, even before we started shifting up and down the levels of lockdown. So certainly I'm sure people have had plenty to share if they wanted to share something. And these days the format for sharing your feedback into the review was going to be via the website anyway, predominantly via the website. So, boom, there was no hampering for that for people. As we're about to head into June, how frightening is that?
Yes.
We are looking to reinstate our committees that sit under council. So the Environment Committee that I chair will be having its meeting, a reinstated meeting on the 11th of June, and then coming up is also the Transport Committee. So those kind of forums, or particularly that Transport Committee, is where we'll get an update from staff. We haven't got an agenda for that meeting yet, but I will be presuming that we'll get an update of how the process for the review went in terms of people submitting their feedback. So I won't expect that any of that stuff will be crunched yet for kind of detailed distribution, but there might well be some. Often they kind of go, oh gosh, but we can tell you there's some themes coming through, and that's always kind of a good heads up about stuff. But yeah, we'll certainly. I would expect by then they'll be going, oh well, we've got some pretty basic numbers here of in Kapiti, such and such numbers of people shared their feedback into this process.
When do you think the process will produce some revised bus routes?
Well, it just depends on, because the nature of the review is we find out what was said, what people shared with us first up. So, I can't guess what comes out of the review until we get that information from people.
Okay, and we look forward to that. Yeah. And by the way, the meetings you talk about from the 1st of June, are they still going to be Zoom meetings?
Yes, so the 11th of June, my Environment Committee will be on Zoom.
Which is where we started, really. Well, we wish you well zooming around. And I don't know if you'll get away with attending all meetings from the Coastlands car park. We may as well take advantage of it while we can. Penny Gaylor, it's been lovely talking to you. Thank you for your company.
Lovely, thank you.
106.3 Beach FM.